because it can be at a startup very difficult to know what you're looking for. In fact, I would say that the thing that I learned from BlitzPay that helped me was how to evaluate a startup, because when I went to BlitzPay, I just really had no idea. And so, that was the first time anybody had ever had an equity conversation with me, was at BlitzPay. And I didn't know what they were talking about or how to evaluate those terms or anything like that. Nor did I know how to evaluate whether or not I thought this company was going to be successful. Right. At the time, I considered myself to just be a pure software engineer. It's like, give me a problem, I'll go solve it. I hadn't thought about the fact that, hey, if you go to a startup, you have to be evaluating whether or not you think the product of the company is going to be successful. I'd never considered that. Right. I learned that lesson very quick. So when I came to Route, there were a few things that I evaluated on that side. The very first one, and I think that this is really important all around, is that I knew pretty quickly that the product that they told me they were Route by the way builds kind of post-purchase tooling. That the main monetization side of that right now is our shipping insurance, basically third-party shipping insurance. They were actually making money by the time that I joined, which for a startup of that size is very rare, right? I mean, they'd been in existence for like, I don't even know, 4 months maybe, and for most of that they had like 3 employees. So the fact that they were bringing quite a bit of money through the door by the time I joined, I didn't know at the time how rare that was, but after the fact, I was like, oh, that's pretty crazy. But I did know that they were bringing money through the door, and that was really interesting to me. But I have to admit that at the time, I didn't get it. I was like, I don't know if this is a sustainable product long term. I didn't actively think it wasn't, right? I just didn't think that I was really in a position to evaluate whether or not I thought that was a good enough one for the market. So what I relied on instead of that was, I said, I interviewed, with the CTO. I also did a kind of a culture interview with one of the founders. And then I talked to a couple of the other engineers. And I think I talked to the one product manager that was at Route at the time, who's still at Route today. One of the few who's been here even longer than me. And all of them were just, I had never met the caliber of people that I was interviewing with at this company. They were incredibly competent, well-spoken, had a very good understanding of the product, like were very convinced of product viability in a big way. And I just thought, these are people that I can really respect. And if they believe in the product, then whether or not I can see it, I believe them, frankly, better than myself. Because I'm, that still at the time, I didn't consider myself to be really great at evaluating product. 2 months later, it completely clicked. I fully understood why the product was important in the market and why we were going to be successful. So I'm glad I made that bet, but really I had to rely on that feeling of respect and understanding of who these people were that I was going to be joining more than the product itself. Aside from that, there is one other component. As I mentioned, the equity. I didn't really know how to have that conversation at BlitzPay. When I came to Route, I knew much better what it actually meant to get equity in addition to, base pay and all of those things. And so not only did I know a little bit better just from having joined there and having conversations with a few other people about equity, but I did a lot of research. I figured out, I don't really know what this is and like what I should think about this. And so I did a fair bit of research about what it means to get equity. And I would say that for anybody joining the industry into a startup, even if you've worked in the software industry before, but you've never received equity outside of maybe like, quarterly essentially payouts of cash, which a lot of bigger companies, that's what equity means. If you've never dealt with equity that is not liquid by the time that you get it, you need to do some research and you need to ask the right questions, because people can promise you incredible amounts of shares. And then you later find out that the pool is so big that like what they gave you was just absolutely tiny. Right. That kind of stuff happens all the time. That's definitely not what happened at Route when I came, but I knew how to have the conversation. And I knew better what I was getting into as far as that equity piece was concerned. So that's really the couple of things that I evaluated the most closely when I came to Route.